Recognize his face? You don't? I definitely don't. Welcome to... Applique's gone, not a problem. There was a lot of learnings. It went from clothing brand to UX to tried to turn it into a co-working space. I tried to form the branding into different kind of ways. Then Charmmello, bringing storytelling and learning to life. It's where I was thinking to take audiobooks and apply voice acting, cinema scores, music, sound effects, just to make it sound like movies just for your ears. And we did that. We tried that. This is an example that we had or that we made. And yeah, let me know what you think.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure this isn't what normal people class as the commute to so-called work. Yet, it is. For both of us. Same campus for 3 years now. And all that time, all those passes through, it was always the last one that gave us the chills. G8.
Names.
Everything that I've worked on, everything that I've wanted to do, everything that I've planned has always had a story aspect, an immersion aspect, and an influence aspect. And they all derived and stemmed from one thing: movies, films, cinema. And that's what's next. I just like to do hard things, I guess. Just hard things all the time. If it's easy, don't even come to me. If it's difficult, nearly impossible, we'll have a chat. We'll have a long old chat about it. Because that seems to be what I always do. And it's very annoying. But anyways, movies, films, cinema, TV, all that kind of stuff. I'm sticking with the media element because that's just what I am, who I am. And there is a reason for that. The reason I'll keep core or locked up for now. But the overall open one was those three things that I said before, pretty much the immersion, storytelling, and influence. But yeah. So the question is, where did it all start? How did it all begin? I remember back in primary school. Was it primary school? No, high school. It was high school. Walking home with me and Tom Metcalf. Shout out Tom Metcalf. We were going into school, year 7, and we were talking about films because we always talk about films all the time. And one of the questions was like, "Oh, would you ever want to be an actor?" And I was like, "No way." And he was like, "Why? Yeah, and being an actor would be awesome. It would be epic, surely." And I was like, "No. Why? Because you'll have to do whatever the director says. And if the director says you're naked, you'll have to be naked." And last I checked, I don't want to be naked in front of a camera or kissing girls. Or kissing, no. So then I was just like, I do not want to be that. But if I wanted to be anything, it would be the person behind the camera, not in front of the camera, the director. The thing that I do remember is the music. The music had a big effect on me, massively. And the one, I'm trying to remember which one was first, and it's quite hard to picture. I will note films were and still are a big part of my family. We would have a film at least every Friday, at least. And our collection of videos, then converted to DVDs, were massive. My sister and her husband, both, I think they have the biggest DVD collection I've ever seen in a home. And it's just the coolest thing in the world. So we're very much passionate about films in our family, which is cool. So it's that massive influence already was the seed to my interest in that area, and especially the music factor. I can think of Monsters Inc. as the beginnings of that. From what I can remember, it was right at the start with Mike Wazowski and Roz. Roz is trying to find out where Mike's paperwork is. Mike is like trying to, to cloud it over. What paperwork? I thought I already did it. And she's like, "Oh, you can't play dumb with me." And then that eventually leads to him scurrying away, backing away into the scare floor. And then that entrance from the reception to the scare floor goes like this.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Whew, she's nuts.
All scare floors are now active. Assistants, please report to your station.
just the layering. It's all about the layering. I just love how it goes boom 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 boom
Report to your station.
and it just like rolls and rolls, and it just feels so good. It gets you proper into the movie. You're already into the movie with the best intro for a Pixar. Oh, it's not the best intro, just a really, really super insane intro. And then you got this kind of massive number happening here. It's just all hits, no misses, and it's awesome. And that was just probably the biggest, that was the biggest start I could have to being exposed to the amazing, I guess, neuro wonder that I have when listening to this sort of thing. Because when I heard it and when I saw it, I then replayed it and replayed it and replayed it, because I already had a very good, bad tendency to replay videos and DVDs just constantly. There's a bit in Family Guy.
Thank you. We're the Cantina Band. If you have any requests, shout them out. Play that same song. All right, same song. Here we go.
That was me with the videos. Just after it ended, rewind, let's go again. And sometimes I'd leave the video in there for like a week, a month. Nothing else will be watched apart from that. And with this, I just rewind it just so many times to just delayer it and just to just get into it. And then later on, if I was to fast forward, there was another one that did, two other ones. One was Transformers, the first Transformers. I remember that was insane. I went to see that with Becky and Nathan. Becky, my sister, Nathan, my brother-in-law. It was awesome. And then we came back, and on the way back, me and Nathan just kept on doing the Transformers sounds all the time. Both me and Nathan are big kids, and it's awesome. It's just the best thing ever. So the film was already cool enough, but the music was just so insane. You got a couple of areas. You got the part where the Autobots are coming to Earth. That sequence alone was crazy. It's the fact that it's got the strings, the way it's like a pendulum. It goes zoom, zoom. So you slowly get into it, gently swayed into the scene, into the stakes and the impact of the current situation, and you just feel very full, and you're there leaning forward, thinking what's going to happen next. And that's what it felt like when listening to this. It was just so crazy. So that's what Transformers did, and it did it with a couple of areas. It did that one, then you had the one with a cube, where Bumblebee's reaching up, and then he takes this massive space object, gigantic, does a couple of twists, and then it condenses down to this sizable box. And in that time, just I don't know what happens. I don't know what notes the director gives the composer, but they just create magic.
Oh, okay, here we go. He doing something.
Oh man, speaking of magic, I went to the cinema with Mum and we went to see Tron. That was dope. And Tron is a weird one. It's not a weird one. Tron is Tron Legacy, not the first one, the second one. Although the first one is good for its time, but the second one is just, I think it's an underrated movie personally. It has the score was done by Daft Punk. French DJ duo. Can you call them DJing? I don't know what they're an electronic duo, basically, insanely good. And this one was from the second you hear it. It starts off with, as soon as you hear
The Grid.
you're just like, oh, let's go. I reckon. Let's go. I think it's time. Yeah, it comes in thirds. You've got the visuals, you've got the acting, performance, and you've also got the music. It's a trifecta, but it's a weird trifecta in the way that sometimes that music can help lift somebody's okay performance and make it feel really good. Sometimes the music can dampen the effects of bad effects, can dampen the damage of bad effects or bad acting. Those things aren't invincible in their own right. It just, when you have a really good piece of music, everything else doesn't feel as sharp, if that makes sense. That being said, when you have really good effects, really good acting, and really good music, you've got a crazy, crazy film. Tron isn't a crazy, crazy film. It's one of those where the acting isn't amazing, but the special effects are really cool. So that's a 2 out of 3, but the music was so good, it made it feel like a 3 out of 3. If that makes sense. I'm sat there, I hear the first score as the guy goes into the grid, and I'm just like blown away. I'm blown away. And it's just so insane. I'm there looking at my mum like, are you hearing this? She's like, what are you on about? I'm like, are you not hearing this? She's like, hearing what? I'm like, you're not hearing this, are you? I don't think you're hearing it. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you should watch it. I'm like, I'm watching it, but you're not hearing it. And she's like a whole thing happening. And she's like, I think you should chill. I'm just like, we'll talk after. And it was just, my mind was just blown. I was just like, that's the first time I've ever delayered a movie before in that kind of way. Because I was saying about Monsters Inc., but that was only that section. In this, when watching Tron, I effectively delayered all of it. All of it. And that's both a good thing and not so good thing. How it's important to both have times where you're able to deconstruct, but also able to take things as a full package without feeling the need to deconstruct and then appreciate the elements. So take it all as one when you can, and sometimes there's a time where you can and should deconstruct it and take each individual part as it is. Tron, I disassembled, and I loved every piece. And I was definitely awakened by this. I was like, can't believe movies can do this. It can just suck you into this world and you feel completely engulfed and like nothing else matters. I was in the grid at that moment. That music brought me into this scenario. And it is just wild. And it feels even more different when you isolate the pictures and the acting and just listen to the album of the score. An example of listening to the album, I think I'll say it was Dark Knight. Harry, sister's husband, brother-in-law, H down, what's up, suggested to me a track on there called Like a Dog Chasing Cars. And I was like, all right, cool. He's like, you've seen Dark Knight, right? I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. He goes, oh, check it out. I go to HMV, I find Dark Knight, and I take it home, open up the CD, pop it in, close the lid, Mum's in the kitchen, I'm in the dining room, I hit play, and I hear this. And then I'm just turning it up, turning it up, turning it up, turning it up. Until and then Mum's in the kitchen like saying, settle down, you need to calm down, because by this point the whole house is like shaking because I'm just turning it up to 5 million. And it's just, I've never heard anything so crisp and clear like that before. And I don't know. This is where, what I'm trying to say is how much the magic of film is building inside of me, basically. How much I get taken away by the worlds that I'm getting lost in. And because you can have those scenarios where you enter a cinema and it's sunny, then you leave the film and there's snow outside. Or you enter the cinema and you have some worries, or you have some, I don't know, you're feeling something, and then you're in this new world altogether, and that's who you are and where you are now. And sometimes it can feel a little bit rubbish when you leave it, because it's like, I kind of want to stay there. That's if it's a good movie, not a good movie, that's if it's a upbeat movie or cool movie. Obviously, if it's a horror or a very sad place, you don't want to stay there. It's just good to have a window into that universe. I find that music provides a very accessible doorway, and that you can start a film, everything is black, and if you can start it with a gentle motif, people already feel like they're getting drawn in because music is something that resonates with everybody in some way, and it's a great doorway, and then the picture shows and everything begins. It's just something that can sway emotion, that can push emotion, that can drag emotion. If you have the wrong music in the wrong place, then it can deter you from what's currently happening. If you have the right music in the right place, it can uplift it to the sky and beyond. An example could be The Revenant. The Revenant is very different to Transformers. Transformers is very hard-hitting, a lot of drums, a lot of synths, but then you've got The Revenant that echoes the environment that it's in. Transformers is echoing the chaos, the destruction, the damage. This one in The Revenant is echoing the wasteland. Not wasteland, the open nature, the wanderer, the searcher, the eeriness, the tension, the build-up of revenge. It's one that doesn't cloud your mind in every single second, which some stories and films do. Instead of having a waterfall of sound, it's more like a mist that hovers. There's not really much else to say apart from the power of music, the power of sound, the doorway into a story. I like those doorways because sometimes the current room that you're in isn't really a room that you want to be in, but it's a room that you have to keep on coming back to. So if for a moment you can escape to a room where you can calm down, or a room where you can hype yourself up, or a room where you can think, or whatever it is, those rooms are good. And those rooms I call the cinema. And those rooms I call wherever I watch a film where I can escape for those moments, and escape to do those things I just said, and then return back into the real world. And I like it when I can have some kind of learnings from it. And those learnings don't really always come from what's been said. It comes from the translation I've made with the music, because the music has a script of its own, but it's one where it's more guides, and your job is to fill in the blanks. So yeah, that's my trajectory. Films. And it's going to be interesting. So season 2 is, I guess, dissecting elements of cinema, film, TV, the music, the acting, the good things, the bad things, all that kind of stuff. I may even be talking about some of the things I'm working on within that realm and whatnot. I'm not too sure on the frequency, but I do know there will be a frequency. A challenge for you, if you want a challenge, it's not really much of a challenge, but with the next film, but then I don't really want to be forcing anyone to be listening to something and trying to force that ear into somewhere where they're not naturally inclined to do that. All I would say is just to open up your mind when you go to see something, or when you're watching a TV show, or whatever you're listening to, try to hear it, not just listen to it, because there's a difference. Listening is where the sound comes in, but hearing is where the sound is registered. So if we can do that, even in conversation, because there's dynamics and flow within a conversation, and it can be very mesmerizing when you hear somebody speak with passion, because their frequencies are just off the charts, and it can be just as somber or as heartfelt when you hear somebody speak their mind, basically. Speak their mind in a way that they find challenging. And if you truly listen and hear, you can, again, visualize the frequencies and the patterns and connect to them a lot more. So don't just listen, hear, and then it'll help you understand. The access to that doorway will be much easier when you do so. Because sometimes that doorway can be a very challenging thing to find, and when you're trying to force it, it can feel like it'll never open. So just allow yourself to find it. What am I talking about? I don't know. Anyways, peace.